Welcome to October Grid. We're going to be talking about how to save a fortune and make a fortune in taxes. Let's go. All right.
Let's do it.
Yes. Got to hit that intro, y'all. This is production. So, Cory, where's this other mic? I'm going to give you the good one. I'll take the janky one.
Cool.
Test. All right. We'll see.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Good to see everybody. Thanks for coming out.
I see some familiar faces. Glad y'all are here. All right. Cory, what are we talking about tonight?
Yeah. So tonight we're going to be diving into a couple quick topics. We're going to be diving into 1031 exchanges, tax exchanges, and we're going to be diving into Delaware statutory trusts.
And even a little bit of qualified opportunity zones.
Absolutely.
Right? A little bit of that. Yep.
That's right. So quickly talk about just what is Grid, right? So Grid is a national real estate investor network that we like to bring together here at a hyper-local level through meetups all across the country. We like to say we are not gurus. We're just here to do, we're real people doing real deals in real time, here sharing our experiences with you, and trust that you're going to be sharing your experiences with everybody here in the room. This is very much a community of collaboration, and we're all here just to learn and grow together.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So who's got a win? Right? Who's got a win this month? Who's doing something exciting? I literally was sitting on the stage and I just set out a contract for the first flip that I have done in years. The last one was one that Cory and I did, actually. Back in the day, we were just getting. Was it before Grid, Cory? Or was we were running
probably right at just as we started it.
Yeah, like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
we
wow,
ran
that's
this,
cool.
ran this flip
Congrats,
together. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's my win. I'm excited. I'm doing it with Cindy Hewitt. She's not in here today. Right? Somebody in Grid. We're partnering together. So excited on that one. Who else has got a win? Who's got something they're celebrating? Jose.
We started a cleaning company with Sean.
Yes.
Let's go. What's the name of it?
Silverline Properties.
Arriba la raza. I love it, man. Jose's not Mexican. He's Puerto Rican, but he works like he's Mexican. You have 3 jobs. 3 jobs. I can say that about us. We do work. Yeah.
That's cool. Congrats, Jose.
True.
That's awesome.
Every party I've ever been to when I was roofing involved us like working a half a day and then going to the party. Like, even on a holiday, like we're going on the boat, but we're working until noon. Yes.
That's cool.
I love it.
Who else? Duke.
I set up something unusual for me. Established a relationship with an auction company that has auctions in 33 states. I did set up the auction in Mississippi, and I never went there or anything, never been there, etc. They're going to take care of the whole thing.
I love it. So you're getting paid. You're getting paid to be the locksmith,
Yeah,
right? To make the introduction.
Not very much, but, I mean, some's better than nothing.
That's awesome,
cool.
Duke.
Nice job, Duke.
I love it. Duke's here all the time. Yeah, Joey.
Flip number 2.
Closing on flip number 2. Let's go.
Nice job, Joey.
Let's go. If you're new here and you're standing, might grab a seat. We're talking for at least an hour. There's coolers back there. There's food back there. Help yourself. All right, Cory.
That's right.
We got some stuff to. Who are you,
That's
buddy?
right. So quick intro for myself. So my name's Cory King. I'm the co-host here of Grid Knoxville. I've been an investor now since 2009, where I jumped into the space via house hacking. So just first-time buyer, bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, rented out the other two bedrooms, and just started to rinse, repeat from there. Currently now serve as the managing partner for our real estate sales team here. And we like to do some largely buy and hold investing with some fix and flips sprinkled in. So we're on our 4th flip for this year. That was our goal for the year. So we're on flip number 4, should have that on the market by Halloween.
So if you got a house in Mechanicsville, call Cory.
Holler. 37921 is my favorite zip code to buy
Cory's
in.
going to be running for mayor of Mechanicsville one day. That's his spot. So my name is Justin Myers. I run Grid with Cory here. I also am a community manager for Grid. So Grid is a national organization. We've got 20 locations around the country in 10 states. We'll be at the Bigger Pockets convention. We're partners with Bigger Pockets. We help pilot their agent referral program for them. So we're going to be hanging out there. We're going to do a takeaway on that, by the way, October 15th. If anyone can't make it, wants to know what we talked about, hear from the best of the best, we're going to have a live Zoom on the 15th. We'll make sure you get a link to that. I am a realtor. I've been in the game for 20 years. I have tried my hand at everything and just kept failing my way forward like Mr. Magoo. And along the way, somehow built a national network because I like making friends, and that turned into a position. So if you need someone around the country, and this may sound, if you're watching from home, this might sound like an overpromise. There is a good chance that I know them. Weirdly, I have one of the biggest networks in the whole country because I like making friends. So that's why I run Grid the way we do. I've got 3 weird projects. I'm doing a mobile home project with the guy from Grid, Josh. We're doing a new build down in South Knoxville in a flood zone. That's been interesting. Learned a bunch about hydrodynamic and hydrostatic loads and buoyancy calculations. And I really like build to rent stuff, build to sell stuff. I'm a big fan of new construction. Had a background, a partnership with the builder for years. That's how I met Cory. He was on that team that we had. So that is who I am. That's what I do. We've got 4 meetings every single month because we're overachievers. All right. So anybody been to one of our Investing 101 meetings with Travis? Yes. Awesome. Troy, Tony, what'd you think?
Was stellar, thank you.
Oh, Travis, they just said your meeting was pretty good.
In other words, I heard.
He said stellar, actually. He said stellar, but I didn't, I didn't want your head to get too big. So we do an Investing 101 every single month. So if you are new, if you don't have clarity on your strategy, if you don't have your finances locked in, right? If you don't know exactly how many reserves you need and have you earned the right to invest, I highly recommend coming to that one. I think it's one of the best ones we do, right? Come to that, we'll lay some groundwork, and Travis is happy to sit down and do a personalized consultation. I have seen people come to Grid for 18 months and then go to that thing and finally take action because they really didn't have a strategy. They were in analysis paralysis. So we started running that every single month so you can put these into practice because, right, that's the hardest part, Cory, is like the actual strategy part. I could do anything. And
then just taking action, though.
Yeah.
That's it.
Can be a little overwhelming.
Take the swing.
Yes. And then we have a coffee event. This is actually one of Cory's. How did you meet Andrew?
Yeah. So Andrew and I met actually at a networking and marketing event 7-8 years ago. It's probably right.
He is like one of the hardest working entrepreneurs in town.
Absolutely.
Actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, just been a big fan of all of his ventures.
For someone that just sells coffee and set out to be like the best coffee entrepreneur in the world, he networks harder than half the guys I know that work in commissions.
Truly. And so that was an event we started putting together here right about a year ago, as we knew that not everybody could always make it here to the Wednesday evening one. So it was like, hey, what if we created a space for people each month where we could come together in the mornings, have an opportunity to grab some coffee, in this case, some really awesome niche coffee, share some deals, share some wins along the way. So that's been a really fun thing. We've been doing that a whole year.
That is right up the street. That's down in Bearden at You Brew Coffee. So that's going to be Grid's first Wednesday. Investing 101 is our second Saturday. Grid Coffee is our third Friday. You don't have to remember all this stuff. It's on the Meetup site. Meetup site has all the locations. You can RSVP there. It's got the addresses, links, all that good stuff. And then our own Vernon Corum hiding back there. Say hi to the folks, Vernon. Vernon is our short-term rental expert. He is the owner of staycating.com, right? This is our short-term pro. He has been a short-term rental manager. How long have you been doing that now for, Vernon?
The actual management about 5 years, but I've been around this business for 30 years.
Yep.
In some shape, form, or fashion.
Yep, and so whether that was like, I think you ran cleaning businesses like SOPs. So Vernon does a deep dive on that SDR playbook. So we're walking you through just like what does that model look like? Because it's a fundamentally different model. It's a fundamentally different mindset to be a host than it is to be a landlord. And then we have some great speakers come in. We just had Charles Shapiro come in and give a really deep dive into bonus depreciation. And we talked a little about cost segregation and taxes. So if you haven't checked that one out, please do. The recording is uploaded on the Grid page. Nathan, where's Nathan Gort? Is he hiding back there? Directly behind this column. So I just saw Batman flapping 2 arms. But Nathan records those for us, right? Huge asset for us. So thank you so much. Cory, we got some cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, that's right.
We got a giveaway. Anybody signed up for these text reminders? If you have, we haven't been sending them out, so it's not broken. But if you would like us, what we're talking about doing is instead of us trying to shout these to you, if you just want a quick text reminder of what's happening so you don't forget, I forgot Grid was tonight or tomorrow, you can sign up there and we will just send it to you. It's going to come from like a 5-digit number just like your rewards at like Chipotle or something, right? And we'll just send that just for some reminders for the event. We're doing a giveaway, just some simple stuff like that, so that way you don't forget, to try to simplify it so it's not on us to try to text 600 people, because
That's right.
that gets hectic.
Yeah, it's a lot to manage.
It is.
Yeah, it's a lot to manage for sure.
Cool. Cory, who's in the room?
Yeah, so let's talk about it, right? All of you have a different color-coded name tag just corresponding to it. So we always like to say, who's in the room buying deals? A handful, half, okay. All right, good. Good,
We
good,
got, we
yeah,
got some
definitely
serious
good.
investors tonight. I like this.
Yeah.
This is the kind of room I want to be
Yeah,
in.
good.
When 70% of the hands are buying deals,
That's
we're
right.
selling deals, y'all. Let's talk.
That's right.
We got several. Travis, you still got that duplex? Yes. Okay, there we go. Yeah, let's talk. We got a 1% rule duplex. Holla. Cool. Who else is in the room, CK?
Yeah, yeah. So contractors, service providers, and wonderful.
Ooh.
Good, good. So if you need a contractor, you need a service provider, look around. There's your hands raised. Who's got money to lend? Who's got cash out, ready to
I
lend
see
some
you
money?
big ballers.
Good, awesome, right? So look around. Those are the people. If you need money for any of your projects, you're looking for people to partner with. Look for the green name tags. Those are your folks. And then who's new? So there's a handful of new.
I
Love that.
It. I love it.
Very cool. Welcome.
Richard, Angie, how'd you find us? What do you do?
We got introduced to you by Nick Dimitropoulos, and
That's Grid. That's Nick runs our Grid LA Investor Club. He relocated there from running our Grid DMV. We really are all across the country. Yeah, Nick's amazing. Yeah.
and then we're in the title industry, so we do title. We're a fairly new title company in Tennessee, Presidential Title Group,
Okay.
and our goal is to help reduce the cost for title.
You like investment deals?
Yeah,
Okay, interesting. Well, I'm glad you're in the
we
room.
like investors, we like everybody.
We should talk. I love it. Courtney, welcome. How'd you find us? Who are you?
I found you on Facebook.
Let's go. Let's go. Fantastic.
I'm a realtor and a property manager.
Cool.
I'm currently with Stevens Realty. We're a full service, one-stop shop. So we do long-term rentals, short-term rentals. We list, we sell, we buy, we hold, we do.
Property management too? Is that right? Okay, cool.
And I know.
Oh,
that-
okay, all right, cool.
I know this guy. I think he drove the farthest to be here. Bradley, where are you from?
Brookville, Indiana?
Brookville, Indiana. So if you see him, make some friends. Bradley is relocating down here, and we connected, and he drove in for Grid so he could come meet all y'all and check out the town and find a project to move into. So if you got a fixer-upper that makes it's a house hack, or let's talk. We're gonna find something for Bradley so he can move down here and relocate. It's fantastic. Glad you're here. I saw one more in the back. I can't read your name tag. I'm sorry.
Derek,
Derek?
Derek, nice to meet you.
Yeah, welcome, man. Who are you? What do you do? What brought you here?
well, this guy right here.
Okay.
Brian, Vernon.
All right, we won't hold that against you.
I do land clearing and demolition. So, for realtors or anybody that gets a home and needs it cleaned up, looking good for their seller or whatever,
Yep,
I'm your guy.
fantastic.
That's cool. Welcome.
Glad you're
Good
all
deal.
here. So we got an announcement, Cory.
Yeah, we sure do.
What's better? Winning 2 free tickets to see the Vols take on Arkansas October 11th. These
Keep going.
Ray-Ban smart glasses. Hands-free highlights, built-in speakers, and more.
Say it again in case they missed it.
With this giveaway, we'll have 2 winners. Announced live on Wednesday, October 8th.
Step 1, fill out the form, that's your entry.
Step 2, tag a friend and ensure they enter too.
And you'll both get a bonus entry. 2 chances max. The Kaza Group.
Giving you the ultimate game day giveaway.
With Foundation Mortgage.
Go Vols!
I just love how it sounds like you're in the Matrix in that one. You know,
That's awesome. So, yeah, we are
this is
doing.
your brainchild. Tell us about
That's right.
it.
Yeah. So we are doing a giveaway, right? We are giving away a pair of tickets to the Vols versus Arkansas. That's coming up on October 11th. We're also giving away a pair of Meta Ray-Ban glasses, the smart glasses. QR code to enter to win. We'll be doing the drawing next Wednesday here at 2:30 live. You do not have to be present to win, but that'll be that's a spot to sign up.
But if you want to stop by, we'll give you
But-
a crisp hot 5.
Totally. Yeah.
We might have some good gear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you stop by. But yeah, we're gonna do that live. Wednesday. The game is at 4:15, so if you want to go to Travis's Investing 101 that morning, you'll be done by 12:30. Plenty of time to go tailgate. We're playing the Razorbacks. Notre Dame just demolished them. It should be a safe game.
That's
But I
right.
wouldn't miss the first quarter because it might be over. Yes. So
I know,
we're
you're
giving away
spooking
tickets.
Dalton there.
Those Meta Ray-Bans are way cooler and more useful than I thought they'd be. I got to wear them when we were doing the content. You can record content right from here. They also make prescription glasses, like they have different lenses as well. Play music in there. You can use AI. I talked to somebody. She said they just went to Europe and like the glasses were telling them all about the paintings in the area. For the recording, I thought that was the most useful thing. I was like, I would take a lot more video of things I'm doing if I didn't whip my phone out and totally like disrupt
It's just like
the flow of what I
press
was
to
doing.
record. It's pretty sweet.
It was a lot of fun. They were way cooler, and so the footage in there is from us goofing around with the Ray-Bans. Like it's a lot of
Yeah,
a good
it's pretty
time.
sweet. No, we're stoked with that.
Yes. So, if you want, by the way, if you send this to a friend, you can text it to them, you can do whatever, and they can tag you in there. You can get an extra entry. So, go ahead and do that. Cory, don't sue me, bro.
Yeah, that's right. So the state of Tennessee just wants us to be really clear. Like, we are not mortgage professionals. We are not tax advisors. We are not land surveyors. We are not general contractors. We work within our scope of expertise, of our individual
We're not
expertise.
attorneys and we're not CPAs, which is
we
very
go.
relevant for today.
Yeah, no
We're
doubt.
talking about taxes.
No doubt, no doubt.
Okay. And you're being photographed and videoed, and thank you for allowing us to do so. So, fantastic. We've got a mission, right, to help others build wealth through real estate. We're glad that you're here. If you are brand new, you're in the right room. Stay, learn, get educated so you can come partner with us. And if you've done a lot of deals, fantastic. We like doing lots of deals. Holler at us. We got a whole real estate team. We're happy to work with you. Okay. I'm going to introduce our guest, and then I'm going to make you sit and not let him talk for a second. So we're joined today by Pete Amrine. Pete is a longtime great attendee. Glad you're here. Pete, tell them a little bit about yourself on the personal side, and we'll get into the real estate.
Sure. Hi. So one of my wins is I'm sitting in this fuzzy white chair tonight. Normally I'm out there in the green chairs with you guys. It's kind of a full circle moment. So I've been friends with Chris Davis, the owner of Approach Lending, for a number of years. And I was at one of his open houses that Justin was attending, and he was like, how do you not know Justin? How do you not know Pete? And we connected.
Was this the one where his wife was like at the house?
Yeah, Kira
No
was doing the
way.
front door. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it was in the early days of
Something like
Approach,
that. Yeah, yeah.
but I connected with Justin, and
I remember this one.
we went back and forth, and we were trying to get our networks to connect, and then you got really involved with Grid, with Cory, and you encouraged me to start coming. I've been coming with my buddy Will Cochran right there, great real estate agent, for a number of years.
He's pretty
now
good.
I'm getting the chance to share a little bit about what my company, Amrine Wealth Strategists, does for real estate investors and people like yourself. I am a husband to my wife Maggie of 7 years. I have 2 kids, Olivia, who's 3, and Noah, who's about to turn 1. That's why I do what I do. I didn't have a passion for this growing up, but real estate's always kind of been a part of my family's business. My grandfather started the Century 21 franchises. So Century 21 was a really well family-run office in northern Illinois back in the early 70s. And then my grandfather said, I think there's a lot of struggling real estate offices around the country that just need a model. They just need a process. And so he sold it to the whole state of Illinois, and we've been real estate investors ever since. I graduated college from Franciscan University. I played college basketball there, and I got a degree in finance and economics. And then I started as an intern at Northwestern Mutual at college. I learned how to sell life insurance. I'm still trying to get out of that pigeonhole to this day, but it was a great place to cut your teeth. It was a great place to really understand how difficult it is to make it in this business. And, you know, I was kind of a fledgling financial advisor for the first 6-7 years of my career. It's very difficult to earn trust. You only do business with people you know, like, and trust, and a 22-year-old recent college grad is not the person you're trusting with your $1 million retirement accounts. But kind of out of spite, I just never quit. I never wanted to be a statistic of the people that didn't make it in this industry. And then in 2016, my parents sold listed our property in North Carolina for sale. Because they had been renting it out and tenants were just a huge issue. They weren't taking care of the property, they weren't paying on time, it was a nightmare tenant. And so they came to me knowing that I was in the financial industry and said, I need to do a 1031 exchange. I had never heard of a 1031 exchange. So I went on Google and I said, Mom and Dad, I'll figure out how to do it. So I found a qualified intermediary for them. I found product sponsors for them to move into a Delaware statutory trust, because my parents at their stage of life, they were done being landlords. They didn't care what the cap rate was. They couldn't give up the sleep anymore. So I found out about Delaware statutory trusts, which are private real estate syndications that are like-kind eligible for accredited investors. And I did my first 1031 exchange into a Delaware statutory trust for my parents' rental property in 2016. And after that, I found, like, my clients and prospects, they didn't want to talk to me about life insurance. They had a guy. They didn't want to talk to me about assets under management. They had a guy. They loved talking to me about what they were buying, whether it was raw land or a duplex or a fourplex or whatever. And I was so sick of being cut out of those conversations that I was like, I'm going to figure out a way that I can provide services in this arena. So that at that point, my business went from risk management and asset management to private real estate and tax strategy. So now I have 4 silos of my business, but my favorite one is what we're here talking about tonight: the 1031 exchanges, the qualified opportunity zones, and the other things that the IRC, the Internal Revenue Code, gives us that we just probably aren't aware of, or even if we are aware of these rules, we don't know who are the winners and who are the losers to actually provide these solutions. So, I don't know, that's what I tell to everybody. It's kind of staged.
No, I think that's fantastic. So that's why we had Pete here, and just going to give a little backstory is we constantly ask for feedback. So if you've got feedback, grab us, let us know, text us, DM us, like, you know, got our contact info. Like, I'd love to hear from you. And one of the things we heard, we've been doing it for 4 years, is that we've been covering a lot of 101, which was great. We built an incredible community. I've seen people totally transform their lives from coming here. And, you know, Cory and I want to nerd out on this stuff all the time. Like, I don't want to read a slide about self-directed IRAs, frankly. And so it's like, how can we have a more sophisticated conversation? So if you haven't been before, we have a YouTube channel, Grid Investor, just like the hat, right? YouTube, Grid Investor. If you go on there, Knoxville has over 35 videos on there. We went through the mechanics of a 1031 exchange previously. We brought Laura Huckabee in. She's a great qualified intermediary. If anyone's got questions, if you want us to, we can do a webinar with her. We can ask specific one-on-one questions. And I want to say, if you've got questions on how to execute a 1031 and getting into the nuances of that, we can give you a high level, but I recommend go watch that video. Go watch that video. If you want to, I'm happy to set up a conversation we can do it on the Facebook group or something and do a webinar so we can have some advanced level conversations. And I think we're going to do that next year. Does that sound good to everybody? Right? If we've got this foundation, if you get in here and you're like, man, I'm feeling a little lost, I think A, we do a good job of always breaking it down for you, and B, we've got Investing 101 next week, where you can come in there, you can ask those questions, you can watch that video and come in and ask us, and Travis is going to be able to walk you through some of the stuff that we talked about this week. So we're going to have, with your permission, a pretty high-level conversation about this, about how to implement them, about the pitfalls, not just the basics of a 1031, but I thought we might, Cory, like just talk a little bit, and you and Pete can walk through this, so just like set the stage a little bit about what's the background they're going to need to follow this conversation.
Mm-hmm. For sure. No, yeah, very, sure. So I guess some frameworks to still understand is still going to probably revolve around the basics. Hey, I sold a property. I've taken an investment property, I've sold it, and now I need somewhere to go put the cash from that property. And I can either look to do what's called a like-kind exchange, which is that 1031 process, or if I'm an accredited investor, I can look to put that money into a trust. It's going to still let me believe in the power of real estate and what it can do, but in a more passive fashion.
Yeah, because the question to ask anybody, right, when you're making a deal, so the question, if you're an agent here, you have to ask everybody is, what are you going to do with the proceeds? Great, fantastic. I just gave you a check for $200,000. Unless you're going to go put it on black, you're just immediately reallocating it into another asset that generates some kind of a return, right? So that's the underlying thing always. And when you start asking that question, it's going to identify opportunities. Cory was just talking about walking me through an opportunity. You're looking at some owner financing.
Yeah.
You just ask that question today to a guy that owns a multifamily, right? Of, hey, what are you doing with the money?
Yeah. His answer was, I don't really know. So, oh, great. Well, then we can work out some kind of structure there where, like, how do you feel about making some money now, put 100-something grand in your pocket through the purchase of this, and we create a separate note on your equity, and I can just pay you that in installments. And he was quite open to that idea because he didn't have anywhere that he was going to go put 200-something. If he would just sell it outright, you're looking at $250,000 in cash just to go somewhere that he really doesn't even know. He just doesn't want the headache and stress. He's 600-800 miles away from these properties, doesn't really want to mess with it, and so he's now open to some more creative terms there.
Right, and so that's the same question every seller has, is like, what am I going to go do with these proceeds? What am I rolling it over into? What's the underlying motivation? And then for us, right, we approach everything as we're problem solvers. Our job is to solve problems for people. We got really good at solving problems for people. We're good at establishing trust, and then there's opportunities there to transact. There's opportunities to create value, right? There's opportunities to create win-win situations because we get creative with these strategies. So one of the common things that happen is I go to sell a property. If I've got a primary residence, we've got a capital gains exemption. Tell them about that, Cory.
Yeah, sure. So if you're going to go ahead, if you've lived in your property for at least 2 of the last 5 years, then you will be exempt from the capital gains you would have from the sale of that property.
For the first $250K.
That's right. If you're a single person, the first $250,000 in profit that you make from that is tax exempt. If you're married, it's $500,000. It's $500,000. Beyond that, you would incur some capital gains. Most people find themselves not in that position. They find themselves pretty well safe on that.
And that is one of the reasons why many people living through the boom and bust cycles that we've lived through think like of real estate, like a personal residence, like it's an investment, because where else can you go show up, at a closing and you walk away with a check for a couple $100,000 and you're not paying any taxes on it. Now, so that could be an interesting strategy if you're doing like a move up. You could buy a property, live in it for 2 years, move into the next property. You've got 3 years to sell that property. Have another primary residence and still have a capital gains exemption. So that's one way, a basic tax strategy. That's why we talk to everyone about you don't buy the house of your dreams, you buy a house and you turn that into a rental, then you buy another house. This is a very simple strategy. It's what Cory did, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you just rinse, repeat. Buy there, live there for 2 years, move out, hang out to it either as a rental or enjoy the rental income for a little while, and then sell it, make the money, go reinvest it into the next one, just rinse and repeat.
But let's say you have an investment property. You don't have that capital gains exemption. And you're like Pete's parents, you've got some terrible, I gotta mute that for real quick. You got some terrible tenants and you wanna sell this property, you just wanna get out of this particular asset. You've got the question of, what am I gonna do about the taxes? And really, Cory, what I was thinking about, really lead up to this, which I didn't tell Cory ahead of time, is it's really like a cash machine versus a wealth machine problem. Cash machine, a lot of us know that. We're looking at like, what's the return I'm generating? How much cash flow is this getting? What's my cap rate, right? What am I doing to get active income? Maybe I'm like flipping or doing something like that. A wealth machine taxes are a wealth machine problem, right? It's a long-term problem. If I'm not making enough money, I'm not that worried about what my tax rate is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know I took years to make more than 50K. I was in my 30s before I hit that.
Sure. Yeah, the power of compounding is huge.
And so one of the things that Pete and I were talking about, we'll get into this, is just if I can lower my tax burden, it's one of the most important things I can do, and it's one of the things that are at least talked about. So you ready to have a conversation about like 1031 exchanges?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Pete, you want to give us like an overview, or what are the basics of a tax that we talked about before, just the basic rules of this?
Okay. Has anyone in the room done a 1031 exchange? You have.
Been,
Not many. So.
I've been the agent on a couple.
Okay. To how many people in this room is this a totally new concept? Nobody. Okay, so everyone's kind of familiar. All right. Okay, you. Good. Brave girl. Love it. Tough to raise your hand to that question. So when you're going to list a property, you can't list your primary residence unless you have rented it out for 2 weeks per year for fair market value, 2 consecutive years. So these 1031 exchanges, they're not for people who are doing fix and flips. These are for buy and hold investors. Your primary residence, unless you are house hacking like Cory is not 1031 exchange eligible. So these are your rental properties, all of the things that you own, maybe duplexes or fourplexes for. I'm over my skis now.
No, it's okay. So
Bring it
there's some basic rules of a 1031 exchange. We're not going to get all the mechanics of this, but I've got to exchange for something that's like kind, which is real estate. Also not just real estate, by the way. You can 1031 exchange into mineral rights. You can 1031 exchange into commercial real estate. What am I saying and not thinking of the weird ones you can 1031 exchange into? Feel free to shout them out if I'm missing one. Was it raw land?
Yeah, raw land.
Yeah, right. So I've got some options, but generally speaking, it's a like-kind transfer. It's got to be of equal or greater value than the property that I exchanged of for everything to be tax deferred. So if I sold a property for $400,000, right, I've got to go into another property for $400,000. We talked about this earlier. Now, what's the interesting nuance there about debt and equity?
Right. So if you own a house outright in cash, you don't have any lien on the property, then you only have to replace the equity. So $400,000 goes into $400,000. If you have a lien holder, which a lot of us do, you have to replace all of the equity and all of the debt. And where that gets interesting is that you're not going to get all the proceeds, right? Because you had to pay the lien holder back. So say you have a 50-50 property, $400,000. $200,000 goes back to the lien holder. $200,000 goes into your pocket. You cannot 1031 exchange into a $200,000 property for cash without incurring what's called mortgage boot on the other 50%, because you didn't replace all of the debt and all of the equity. You have to replace all of the debt and all of the equity. So you can exchange into another $200,000 property, but you do need to take a loan for 50%. This is where my company comes in to help you understand all the nuances and rules. I'm the safe harbor between your transaction and the laws that we have to follow. It's a lot to remember. The important part is that you wouldn't have to if you were my client.
Yep. So there's 2 time windows, Cory. If you want to run through them.
Yeah, for sure. So your first time hurdle in a 1031 exchange is your identification period, right? So it's 45 days to identify the property. What's cool with that is you can use all the time either before that property's on the market, because that clock starts the day you sold it. you're on the clock to go identify. So we often advise a lot of our clients, hey, if you're looking at making this move, start identifying as early as possible. Start shopping or shop before you've got it on the market, shop while it's on the market, start looking to find where you're going to put this money because you are on the clock as soon as that property is sold.
And I would say a real estate agent, honestly, is not always necessary to a real estate investor, right? Many investors are great at going directly to a consumer or finding opportunities representing themselves. In a 1031 exchange, I think a great agent is vital. 40% of contracts are falling out right now. We just got some statistics from Nikki Walker. She said year to date, going to September, 40% of contracts are falling out right now. You can identify, if you're using the most common identification rules, 4 replacement properties. Things could get pretty hairy. There's a good chance you're going to have to, things are going to move. There's a lot of churn in the market right there. And I'm just going to throw that out there. Doesn't mean you have to use Cory or I. You should, because we're awesome. We're your buds.
Helps.
But talking this through. And as an agent, use agents. Lisa McNeely's here. That's my commercial girl. We just went on a listing this morning. I go consult other people. I'm looking at the network. Will's in here. Will's awesome. We trained Will. He's on our team. Let's go, bro. Now he's just out flipping and crushing it. But I would say find somebody on your team there just because it really helps during a 1031 exchange, during the identification period of people that have a pipeline and who have access to everyone else's pipeline. Yeah, Lisa.
I would just add to commercial, it's even more important because the diligence period is so much longer. So you could get under contract and something could happen and you're gonna have that much less of a window left to identify another potential property. So
Because how long do you have to close?
Yeah, 180 days
180 days.
to close.
So to speak on that, Lisa, thank you. A lot of the times people use my services to be the insurance policy on your 1031 exchange. If you know that you're going to list a property and you have already decided, to Justin's point, I already know what I'm going to do with these proceeds. You're going to be much more efficient on that transaction. And then, sorry, camera guy, sniffling into the microphone.
You're good.
But to Lisa's point, the due diligence process is really long. You don't want to be on day 169 and have all 3 of your replacement properties fall through due diligence and then have a blown 1031 exchange. So oftentimes my clients will identify the 3 properties that they want to exchange into and then have my DST as a backup so that we don't have blown 1031 exchanges. What that does is make sure that you can realize all the capital gains in the sale of asset A, and then you're in a 5 to 10 year waiting period for the sale of the next asset. Could be as short as 2 or 3, but typically it's 5 to 10 years.
So I'm going to jump in real fast here.
Sure,
And the most important thing about a 1031 exchange is you have to engage the services of a qualified intermediary before you close. Before you close. Please don't call someone and say, hey, I just sold my place and I want to do a 1031 exchange. It can be the day of, but the 1031, because the intermediary actually receives the funds. They're the escrow company. They hold it. They are literally they qualify with the IRS and they are an intermediary in the transaction, right? So they're going to ensure their whole role there is just to ensure that this is compliant with that portion of the tax code and to facilitate that for you. So if we miss when they go wrong, there's some interesting things you can do, so we'll get into that. So anyone have any questions just about 1031s, how to use them, when to use them, before we move on to getting into the curveballs? Yes, Boone?
Can you only do a 1031 into one property?
No, that is a great question.
Up to 4 properties.
You could get real
So
squirrely into even
commercial,
more.
Another house, for example, a land deal?
Yep.
Okay.
So like kind doesn't mean single family to single family. It doesn't mean multifamily to multifamily. It just means real estate to real estate. And then DSTs, Delaware Statutory Trusts, is legal jargon for like kind eligible.
Yep, so we'll get into what DST is, but it's the same. So we're talking about real estate to real estate. You can exchange into more. I've seen someone exchange one property into 7 properties. The other thing you can do is there's nothing stopping you from taking 200K, right, and 1031 exchanging and taking on more debt. So to go back to our earlier example where I have 200K in debt and 200K in equity, there is nothing stopping you from going, hey, you know what? I'm going to go buy a cabin right now. I'm going to go put 20% down with a DSCR loan, debt service credit coverage ratio loan. So I'm going to qualify based off of the income. I'm going to leverage this, let's say at 80%. There's some 15% DSCR products out there. So let's just use simple math for anyone who picks me apart of the guidelines, right? And I'm going to go buy $1 million asset because I want to take advantage of bonus depreciation. And I'm going to do that before December 31st so I can put it into service this year so I can take those losses, right, against my active income. You could do lots of things with 1031s. You can leverage into other properties. So I've seen a guy, he 1031, Brett Tanner, 1031 out of his properties in Arizona down into Huntsville. One property into 7 because they're real cheap down there. So you can go, there's nothing stopping you from doing something like that.
There are technically 3 rules. The most simple one is 4 potential replacement properties. Yes.
Yes. Which is the safest. The other ones get squirrely. And again, I'm going to refer you. Let's talk to the intermediary. We'll get on our
Not a
webinar.
tax advisor.
We can squirrel because we get into what we talk about all the time here, the it depends questions. Right? It's like let's get the intermediary here to answer the it depends part of it. But yeah, absolutely anything that's real estate, which is why I know some guys that 1031 into mineral rights and royalties. But again, like
oil and gas.
Yep, oil and gas. But that guy had a system and a plug, and he was like, I have someone that show me how you buy oil and gas that's adjacent to producing oil, and you're not just out here randomly buying worthless mineral rights.
Not wildcat.
Yeah, no. So, any other, Lisa.
I just want to make one other comment. It's really beneficial if you are doing a 1031 exchange and you're the buyer identifying a property to disclose that. First of all, you are supposed to, but secondly, if you disclose that up front, it actually goes a long way with sellers because they know that money is pretty well guaranteed. It's already there and available. So it can help you win more deals as well.
Yes.
If you make sure to identify that up front. It can also kick you in the ass if you don't tell people because there are things that the other party will be required to do. So don't wait on disclosure.
Yep, so disclose that you're in the 1031. It can be some advantages, and the biggest advice is start the process early. There's nothing stopping you from identifying, pre-negotiating any of those things, asking people if they need to make, and people may be, open to doing that. Like they may need a 1031 to something else. Like sometimes I've been able to create opportunity for us by creating an opportunity for that seller, right? If we could show them would you be open to making a move if I could show you how to put more money in your pocket? Right, would you open to having a conversation? Yes, Brooke.
So if someone did a 1031 exchange into a cabin and was trying to get it in a certain time period before like the end of the year for it to count, for it to be fully operational and turnkey, does it have to be completely turned over to them or could they come in as a co-host and account? Does that make sense?
That is, the property has to be put into service. You have to generate some kind of income in the property, right, prior to the end of the year. Is that right, Nathan? Am I missing anything? Does that sound right? Yeah. Like it's just got to be put into service. So I think co-hosting or using a property manager or something would make that eligible. You might have some nuances if you're asking about like qualifying as like the designated professional.
Right there too, so it's like I have cabins that I've got to pretty much sell. And so my biggest thing is you're getting right there at the holiday time. People have already booked. Could I have could somebody come purchase, say, a 1031 exchange and co-host to kind of swap those people over so the holiday people don't lose their booking and you can actually transfer a property that's in good standing much easier than just canceling all the bookings?
So two different questions. One's like all the nuances of running an SDR, and one's running a 1031. From the 1031 side, as long as you put this into service, like for bonus depreciation, by December 31st, right?
Okay.
This is, and there's some nuances about what that means. 'Cause in my head, I'm thinking like, ask me afterwards. Because I want to look at my phone about
I'm
something.
not going to answer that.
Yeah, but as long as it's put into service prior to the end of the year,
Okay.
Then that property would count. It doesn't count if you put it into service January 3rd and
Right.
so there's,
That's right.
it's got to be generating income. Like I don't need the lease signed
No,
prior
as
to
long as you're not living in it. As
Yeah.
long as it's not your primary residence.
Okay, so
Because otherwise, like, you're not charging rent on raw land, but it's 1031 eligible.
well,
You
it's a
just can't
bonus.
live
So
in it.
the bonus depreciation question. We're asking like 3 questions in one here. It's like a little Maricopa doll. Yes, the guy.
So you said it faster than I was catching it. Something about if you have a primary residence, you have to rent it for a while first? Is that what you were saying to do that? Can you re-explain that? I didn't gather it.
If you're
Which for a 1031?
Yeah, for 1031. So like say my house, I want to sell it, but if I want to get 1031, I have to rent it first?
There's 2 things you could do, right, Pete? You could do a little Augusta rule, and you could rent it for 14 days of the year, because you got 14 days you can rent your property tax-free. Thank you, rich folks at Augusta, for the Masters. So you could rent it out for 14 days for Vol games, and it would be eligible. It's supposed to be tax-free money. Or you'd have to have the property, would have to be rented out, put into service.
fair market value, 2 weeks per year, 2 consecutive years.
Yep.
So like if you go on fall break and winter break, and you and your family leave your home, and your uncle moves in, and he pays you, and you have all the receipts for paying fair market value, you can't rent it to him for $1, right? It has to be fair market value, 2 weeks a year, 2 consecutive years. Then your primary residence becomes 1031 exchange eligible.
Got it.
Or-
Do the Augusta rule, like he said.
Or you do the, now what if I did the most common thing and I move up, right? I moved into a 1,000 square foot house, and now I got the kids on the way, so I'm moving on up and I'm moving to the suburbs, and I'm
All
gonna
1,000, huh?
Yep. I'm holding on to this, I'm holding on to that first residence. How long do I have to rent that out? Is it a 2-year waiting period before I get 1031 it?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's a 2 years all the time. Yeah,
Yep.
It's not, 1031s aren't for fix and flips. You can't close, flip, and 1031 in 9 months. It's for buy and hold properties.
Because what we're really talking about, big picture in the tax code, is the difference between active income and passive income. They are taxed differently. So there's some advantages and some disadvantages. So that 2-year period, like a fix and flip, that's active income.
Yes, correct.
It's active income.
You're going to be paying regular income tax on that.
And longer term holds, like passive income, are taxed at a higher rate.
Between 15 and 23.8%. So
Yep.
if you're in the highest income tax bracket, you're paying the 20% capital gains rate plus the 3.8% Obamacare tax.
Yep, but if you can tax defer those, right, I can take advantage of having some long-term holds with the tax benefits.
Sure. The math works out to where if you can defer taxation on the sale of an asset for 7 to 10 years, it's as if you mathematically did not have to pay the taxes at all. So what I try to teach my clients to do is we have limited resources. We need to keep all those resources on our side of the fence for as long as humanly possible so that we can be getting anywhere from 3 to 20% compounded interest per year, depending on the asset. But I would much rather be working with 100 grand than 76 grand to compound that. Because even if I'm compounding 100 grand at 4.5%, the 72 grand is going to be catching up for the next 3 decades. So everyone's heard Warren Buffett talk about the 8th wonder of the world, compound interest. Compound tax works the same way. If you aren't being totally efficient with what the rules of the game that the United States government has given us, then you're paying compound tax. And your compound tax drag can be anywhere from 1.7 to 2.9 per year. And it's just a hurdle that regular people can't overcome. Because like your financial advisor's like all proud of his 8% return in your brokerage account, but you paid 3.5% in taxes, so you're netting 4.5%. And that's when the DSTs that are paying 4.5 tax-free become a little bit more attractive because we're compounding 100 grand instead of 76, and then we're continuing to defer the income. We're not paying compounding tax every single year.
So I saw there's multiple hands that have gone up, so I'm gonna go in order. So Baron.
So your entire service is.
Sorry. We're gonna get to everybody.
Your entire service really is staying absolutely with your foot flat on compliance at every step of the way, the accuracy involved in the same, but also keeping your head flexible and the client, which accentuates the client's flexibility as far as them knowing all the angles that can come up because rules are constantly changing, constantly, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how much do you charge for your service?
Well, we'll talk about that after, Duke.
What?
Yeah.
Because I'm on camera.
But surely everybody thinks the same thing, okay?
Sure. Great question. Do you want to respond to that before I do?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, you can. But Duke just said you're a swell
I don't
guy.
want to get you off track.
Duke's been at a couple of my lunches. Okay, so he's gathered quite a bit.
So I've got some things we're going to circle back to because we haven't talked about DSTs and what's go in qualified opportunity zones and how do you bail out when a 1031 doesn't go great and the nuances. But I'm going to go through some of the questions here. So Baron had his hand up first. Baron.
So let's say you have a property, you did cost segregation and you got the bonus depreciation, and following year you sell, you 1031 the property. Do you defer the taxes?
So the question you asked is, let's say I have a property and I've done a cost segregation study, right? And I do a cost segregation study so I can accelerate depreciation, so I can get, and I accelerate the depreciation and I also take advantage of bonus depreciation. And then you ask, I do a 1031, are you asking about recapture? Or are you asking about like the deferment of like capital gains?
When you do cost segregation, if you sell it, like first year, second year, or 3 years,
Yep.
or third year, you have to pay the taxes, the savings.
You have to pay back the depreciation, which is different than the capital gains tax, right? Because I'm writing things off, and so I'm just taking those write-offs sooner. They're like on a 27-year schedule sometimes, so I'm going to take them shorter. So, which can be advantage because again, I keep my powder dry. Maybe I want to take, more advantage, but I am just taking like future write-offs ahead of time. So, the 1031 exchange. The question is to you is, it's two-parter. They would be able to defer the capital gains taxes, but would they have to? Would they be?
You'd have a reduced cost basis. You'd have a reduced cost basis according to your depreciation schedule at the time.
So you'd have to pay. The depreciation schedule would affect your basis. So let's talk about basis. What's basis? Because that's probably a very important part of this conversation.
Oh, basis is what you put into the property less depreciation expense.
Right.
So if you bought up property for 100 grand, your basis is 100 grand, regardless of what the assessed value is, and then if you take depreciation, then you are reducing your cost basis pro rata.
Yep. And so
Part of CPA.
So I have 100 grand, I put some money in there, I reduce my basis, let's say I'm down to 70 grand. Basis is important because basis is how we calculate capital gains. So that on $400,000 sale, if I have a $100,000 basis, $300,000 is the gain. And this is kind of set us up to go in and talk about qualified opportunity zones in the second year because basis is a huge portion of why those things are attractive.
Sure.
So does that answer your question, Baron? Fantastic. And we're going to segue to DSTs and qualified opportunity zones. Nathan, I saw your hand up in the back.
I was just going to ask, can you talk the pros and cons between a 1031 and deferring it for 30 years? When do you can defer your taxes for 30 years instead of doing a 1031. Can you talk about the pros and cons? What would make you defer it for 30 years versus doing a 1031 today?
Can you tell me more about the deferring it for 30 years thing?
So CPAs, with the cost seg guy was teaching us that you have the choice with the tax law to defer your capital gains for 30 years on investment properties instead of doing a 1031. So I'm asking from your point of view as a 1031 person, what's the pros and cons of both? I mean, besides being old, you want to defer for 30 years, right? I mean, I'm not being ageist.
I would say that I would even hearing this, I would want to know the mechanics of the deferral for 30 years. Does anyone else heard of deferring your taxes for 30 years?
Have you done that?
No, Justin, Vern, and us, we were all at a conference when a guy actually was teaching that strategy last year. It was last summer. You said ask hard questions.
No, I am. I'm just saying, like, when you say defer your taxes for 30 years, like, what? I don't know. I guess the
1031, and you can take that capital today and live off it and defer it for 30 years. Vern, you want to chime in?
It wouldn't do that.
I don't know. I'm just gonna punt this one because I'm gonna have to ask you afterwards. I do not recall this conversation, so I can't, like, I don't know. I mean, if you could defer for 30 years without doing a 1031 exchange, like,
I got some Googling to do.
yeah, that sounds great. But just to answer the question fully, there's always advantages and disadvantages and nuances of every single one of these strategies. So I'd want to know what that.
I can tell you one of the disadvantages, you're giving up control. Okay, so if you're a young person and you're trying to actively grow a real estate portfolio, you're probably going to have higher cap rates and bigger headaches. This is more of a passive strategy for people exiting their active portfolios. But you can't kick people out. You know, you don't have to replace water heaters or roofs or siding or any of that.
So I think Pete's answering about DSTs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing he was just about 1031 exchanges. We'll come to this in a second. I don't know the answer, Nathan. You've totally stumped me.
He got me too.
Yep. So I don't know. From the outside, I would say if I could defer my capital gains for 30 years.
I'm coming to talk to you
I would
after.
just defer my, right, Jeff? Am I missing something? I would just defer my capital gains for 30 years. That seems like simple.
And I'm going to have to find a new job.
If I had a cow that could give me chocolate milk, I don't know.
That does sound better.
Forever, I might take that, yeah. This is like that doubling.
Nice to see you guys.
So here's what I want to. So we asked some questions here, but let's just talk about this big picture, right? Because it's always like if I understand the way broadly, then I can understand it specifically. You know, with the nuances. So when 1031s go sideways, maybe I missed it. I didn't know that I had to do this the day before. What do? Or one of these falls apart, and I can only close on one of those properties, or I've got these things identified and I think it's fantastic and I find out stuff during the property and I thought I had $400,000, but now I got to negotiate that deal down. I'm only paying $350. I'm not going to pay $50K extra for a bum property, right? And so there's many ways, and now I've got this leftover. So now I've got additional taxes that I have to pay. What do I do? Like, what do I do with those funds? What are my options? This is how I got connected to Pete, because when we got into the details of this, I went to a lunch you had, and I was like, okay, now this is really fascinating. So first one is Delaware Statutory Trust is one option. You've got to be an accredited investor. What does it mean to be an accredited investor?
An accredited investor is joint household income of $300,000 or more a year, or $1 million outside of your primary residence on your balance sheet. Okay.
Are you talking about the other DST, the deferred?
Deferred sales trust.
Are you talking about deferred sales trust, Nathan? Anyways.
Those exist too.
All right, sorry. Side note.
Anyway, so say we blow a 1031. Say we don't identify in 45 days, or we're unable to close within 180. Well, now the qualified intermediary that's held your money for 6 months has to give it back to you on day 181. But your tax liability on the original sale of the asset comes back to the top. So on day 181, you get your cash back, and we can look at what's called a qualified opportunity zone. A qualified opportunity zone is, there's 8,900 of these little sections of America throughout the country. It's defined by this section of the city or county makes 80% of the gross median income of the surrounding area. Think South Knoxville, currently a qualified opportunity zone.
Yes, Morgan.
I'm not smart enough to answer your question in the middle of a thought, but I will get back to you. Oh, yeah?
No, I was just saying I apologize. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm done. So South Knoxville, if anyone's been to Scottsdale, Tempe Town Lake area outside of Arizona State University, King Street in Charleston, South Carolina, some really surprising areas that are prime for economic development. One of my best performing properties is the Capitol Square Livonia Knoxville that's going in at the end of Blunt Avenue, 451 Blunt Avenue. It's across the river from Thompson Bowling Arena. You guys might have seen the economic development, the vertical construction going on there for the last 2 or 3 years. That's a qualified opportunity zone. So in qualified opportunity zones, as long as you are an accredited investor, you can invest any gain but only gain in this property. If you hold it for 10 years and defer that tax, you get a step up in cost basis before death.
What's a step up in cost basis?
A step up
So
in cost
let's use our
basis.
100,000 to 400.
Sure. So take the example that we used before. We have a $100,000 cost basis on a $400,000 asset. If you were to hold that asset in a qualified opportunity zone for a decade, your new cost basis would be $400,000. So then if you could, it would be whatever the current market value is.
Yes.
Right? So say your $400,000 property appreciated to $850,000. Well, now in year 11, you can sell it for $850 and pay no taxes
Here's
within
Baron.
the qualified opportunity.
To answer your question, here's what gets exciting about qualified opportunity zones. You don't have to hold 10 years, but we're going to use 10 years because that's when it gets easy. You don't have to get into doing any math, right? There's percentages the longer based on how long you hold these things. But if you hold for 10 years, if you improve the property by 100% of your basis that you buy in there, right? So this is for economic development. You can invest in both businesses and in real estate, by the way. You can even combo those. You can go take depreciation, and there is no depreciation recapture if you stay in for 10 years. So you could go buy in there, get bonus depreciation, do a cost segregation, accelerate your depreciation there, stay in it for 10 years, right? Have an automatic step up in basis, so you owe no capital gains, and like when you exit that, it is whatever the market value of it is your new basis moving forward on that asset, and you have to pay. What's even better about these, I think that's interesting, is when we look at where qualified opportunity zones are, they're also adjacent to those pockets. So downtown Knoxville is an opportunity zone. South Knoxville is an opportunity zone. The entire Alcoa corridor down to the airport, opportunity zone. All that stuff that's going in, like on Alcoa Highway, like down to Hall Road, where they put in all that development. Those are all opportunity zone investments. Right, East Knoxville is an opportunity zone. So some pretty interesting, and the best part, I've got an extended window, and this is for all capital gains, not just capital gains from real estate, right? Any
Yes.
capital gains.
Yeah, so if you bought IBM back in the day and you're sitting on a massive concentration of a single stock that is appreciated massively, how are you ever going to get out of that without paying incredible capital gains taxes, right? You bought IBM for $7 and now it's worth $100. You got an unbelievable amount of capital gains. So it's for Bitcoin, classic automobiles, real estate,
Art,
gold and silver,
yeah.
literally art, any gain, but only gain can be invested into qualified opportunity zones. You hold that investment for 10 years, you get a step up into the new cost basis.
Now, you've got to invest through an opportunity zone fund. And here's a resource for all of you. If it all intrigues you at all, here's your homework. We'll send this, I can put this in it's the second thing we got to add to the newsletter.
Sure.
Our friend David Morse has a podcast, Real Sales Talk with David Morse. He is one of the best leaders in real estate in the entire country, runs an incredible organization out in Arizona, one of the smartest voices on the real estate industry. He's a leader of like Keller Williams Arizona out there. On that podcast, he interviewed Ashley Tilsom, who is the founder of OZ Pros, which is basically a legal Zoom for opportunity zone funds. So for $10,000, you can set up your own opportunity zone fund. So if you're doing a serious allocation, right? if I'm gonna go invest $300,000, $500,000, $1 million in gains, I could go through a fund, and that fund might have, be willing to invest in those projects, or I could set up my own fund for a project. Just another option. Also, that episode is a really great basic explanation of Opportunity Zone. So I highly recommend you check it out if you want to understand this a little more.
No, sorry, I didn't realize.
Will, what's up?
So you were saying at the end of the 10 years of holding that Opportunity Zone, you can sell tax-free, period, without doing another 1031 exchange?
The 1031s, so Opportunity Zone is a secondary, it's separate from the 1031s.
Sure.
So, as long as you hold it, and long as you stay in that asset for 10 years, you can exit. There's some rules in there. If you exit in the interim, I am not the expert on those rules. We're gonna have the same conversation we always do. Go talk to the experts. But if you hold for 10 years, step up in basis to the market value, no depreciation recapture. And you can invest in businesses as well. So you can get really smart and go invest in a business and put it into an asset. Lisa's got some really nice commercial space over in East Knoxville, over in Burlington, that someone needs to go invest in because they're putting that new station in there. It's sick over there. It's really nice. Where Wangs and Things is, like that section, is prime for development. The underlying infrastructure there is fantastic. I love East Knoxville. The fact people that don't is a huge competitive advantage. When I moved back in 2019, I lived on Wilson, walking distance to the high school there, to Austin East. I still am a big believer in East Knoxville. I love living there. It reminds me of being back in Florida. Yeah, Nathan.
So a lot of partnerships are going on right now. If we do an Opportunity Zone, let's say Lance and I partner, if I buy out my partner in those 10 years, does that negate all that savings? Because we see a lot of partnerships breaking up after 2 or 3 years. Is that doable in an Opportunity Zone, or does that doesn't boycott it just because I buy him out? It's now 100%.
You're asking if you could buy out a partnership in the Opportunity Zone and then not mess up your taxable gains?
It would be difficult to create your own qualified opportunity zone fund. You can do it, but the minimum to do it is a $20 million portfolio of real estate. So it's very difficult to accomplish. And then when you get into investing in one, it's a 10-year hold. There is no liquidity before 10 years. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
And in general, so here's what gets interesting about a 1031, where the challenges are. 1031, it is really a match for a match. So if me and Jose are in an asset and I want a 1031 out of that, Jose's coming with me. That's where you might not be able to 1031. If you've got a partner, I can't just 1031 my share out of that asset. Now, I've heard some creative ways, to in terms of structuring. There's probably things I could do, ahead of time. I could buy my partner out, ahead of time. But if I'm going to exchange property where I have deed on title with somebody else and I'm going to 1031 in, we're going into the next one together. So again, tons of nuances. The short answer is talk to the qualified intermediary. You want to talk about DSTs?
Sure.
Ooh, all right. So here's what's interesting. This is what I got really excited about. I'm just going to tee this up for you, Pete, make it easy. What I got excited about is what happens, let's say I'm an accredited investor, and I fall short, and I've got this excess, right? Maybe it's $37,000, maybe it's $72,359. What am I going to do? Do I have to go buy another asset? And you can do what's called a fractional allocation directly into a Delaware statutory trust. And
Thank you, Justin. I was wondering how I would ever segue into this. Okay, so in addition to the insurance policy, right, you want to do a 1031 exchange. You've already called Cory, Justin, or myself and said, Pete, this is the property 123 Sesame Street that we are planning to list on October 30th. I'd say, great, you call Laura Huckabee or one of my other qualified intermediary contacts, and we make sure that they are listed on the closing documents to receive funds. That's step one. Then you identify the 3 properties that you want to go into. Whether they go through or not is great, because you have the Delaware Statutory Trust properties that you can go up to the penny into these, right? So sometimes, like just to Justin's point, you get in scenarios where, okay, I've got $1 million of property to sell, and I've got $400,000 of debt and $600,000 of equity that I have to replace. So with the $600,000 of proceeds that I'm going to receive, I need $250,000 of debt and $350,000 of equity. It can be difficult to line those numbers up with the real property that you're trying to exchange into, right? So you end up with what's called mortgage boot, which is the delta between your original value of the sale of the assets and your exchange value. So if you are $937,000 good on your $1 million exchange, what are you going to find a $65,000, $70,000 property to shore up and be fully efficient? Unlikely. And even if you do, you may not want to own that asset. So you can go into institutional Class A real estate in multifamily, office, data centers, conservation easements, oil and gas, energy, infrastructure, any of those things.
All right. Can I do a lightning round to wrap up some topics? Is that everyone cool with that? Awesome. So you can 1031 into a syndication, right? Just had a client. We were going to look for some properties, right, Jeff? 1031 into your syndication. I found her an agent out in Texas to sell her duplex, right? And then just didn't make sense, didn't have time to go really look at the properties and the identification, put it right into a syndication with Jeff. Like, so that's another thing, because that's right, that is a real estate investment, you know, but it's a
What's nice
pass.
about that is not only we bring equity over, but we're also able to match the debt that she needed.
Hey,
Yes.
Jeff.
So we're able to match equity and debt. And the same thing, those DSTs can hit those proportions for you. So really, you don't have to understand everything. I don't understand. I teach this all over the country. I don't understand everything, but I have figured out how to understand who understands what they're talking about. I've been in enough rooms to be like, cool, no, I don't need to know everything. I know like 3 amazing 1031 intermediaries. Let's go talk to them. Let's go grab Jeff and Pete and like have an honest conversation. I'll be like, oh, you could do this or you could do this. Like that's what I think the power of grid is. Like of having an actual network of people to have like an honest conversation. So a couple of things that we talked about that we might cover today. We decided to switch some things up. We talked about cost segregation. Does anybody come here because they want to know about cost seg? Sweet.
Oh, thank God.
That's easy. We talked about self-directed IRAs. Anybody come here because they were curious about self-directed IRAs? Sweet. Fantastic. So self-directed IRAs, we have gone over that before. I highly recommend you go check that out. If you have a retirement account, it is something the short version of this, I'm going to give you the big picture. Who cares about the specific details, right? I could go convert a retirement account, and there's advantages and disadvantages from a tax perspective to doing some of this into a self-directed account. I might want to do so because I'm like, man, gosh, this guy over here, Cory, keeps doing these flips. Man, he's giving people 15% returns on their money in 90 days or less. I don't have to be a mathematician to figure out 15% a couple times a year sounds pretty great, right? Or maybe Cory I give him my money for a year and he pays me a flat rate and he just goes and turns it, but it's better than what I'm doing in the market. Now, same thing, there's a custodian there that you got to go through. I can't invest in my own assets. I can't commingle those. Like I can't invest in my own deals. So I can't use my self-directed IRA to invest into something that I'm actively doing. That would violate it, but it's something to look at. The people that are getting great returns, and Cindy Hewitt that comes here, and Brenda Price, they teach about this. And they've got a cool program I've seen where they'll invest alongside some people. Definitely something to look at. Ask other people that have done it, right? It can be a good tool in the toolkit. It could also, you could go lose money with your self-directed IRA as well. And I think this kind of brings us to the last thing. You want to get philosophical and talk about debt?
Politics and religion.
Yeah, exactly. Cash machine, wealth machine, right? When it comes down to some of these, the single biggest lesson that we really want to talk about is the power of compound interest in time. Like, don't take losses. If you want to play around, ChatGPT would do this for you, right? Ask it what a 1% return compounded over 20 years looks like versus taking a 23% loss on my capital in year 5 because I've got a taxable event, right? Like, taxes or losses crush your returns long term. There's two different things always to ask yourself. Is this part of my cash machine, my active income play, my crypto, my whatever? Maybe you're an amazing prop bettor. I know guys that are professional poker players. I don't care. What is my cash machine and what is my wealth machine? What are things that I'm buying and I'm holding for the long-term gains?
Yeah, so Justin and I had a conversation earlier this afternoon, and the way he views his cash and wealth machine is similar but a little bit different than mine. I'm trying to get all my clients to pay taxes on only the amount of money that they require to cover their lifestyle, right? So if those lifestyle expenses are $75,000 a year, your W-2 or 1099 should say $75,000 a year. Other than that, it should be going in your wealth machine. It should be going into your balance sheet, into your net worth statement. It should be deferring the gains that you earn every dollar above what it requires you to live. And these aren't always efficient, but that's something to strive toward. If you are reporting $450,000 of income and you only need $175,000 to live, there are incredible inefficiencies in the way that we're structuring our financial life, where we could be putting more money in the wealth machine and taking it out of the cash machine. And all we're doing is using the IRC and the rules that they gave us to do so. So my consulting business is all about meeting with your CPA, meeting with your tax attorney to educate them on, hey, here are some sections of the tax code that are relevant to our mutual client that you either don't know about or aren't taking advantage of. But on top of that, here are the real winners of people that provide these solutions. And I quarterback those transactions. I am not the smartest person in this room. I'm not the smartest person in any room I've ever been in. But I'm really good at networking, just like these two guys are. And if you have a problem, I know someone with a high-level solution. So just come talk to me. I'll point you in the right direction, or I'll buy you coffee.
And if any of that, like what, how do I get there? That is really, I was talking to Travis about like what do we deliver in Investing 101? If I'm doing Investing 101, what's the most valuable? Because really everyone that comes to Investing 101, we should do a little homework and then we're going to sit down and do a one-on-one consultation and give you some tailored advice, because what Tony wants is not the same thing as what Jose wants, not the same thing as what Nathan wants. Different life goals, different perspectives on risk, right?
And different cash machines.
Different assets, different resources available to them. But having that conversation and getting really clear on what is my freedom number, right? What's the number that I need to fund my perfect life? What does that look like? So what kind of a machine am I going to build to do that that's going to line up with my long-term goals, right? Kind of working backwards from there. And then figuring out, have I earned the right to invest in these other things? Because when we're talking about building wealth, something else to think about is also, am I adequately insured? Do I have accident insurance? Do I have life insurance? Do I have disability insurance, right? What's your uninsured motorist, right? When you go hit somebody and now you lost 3 of your investment because they don't want to sue you. They just want to get treated in the hospital. But their insurance company sees that you've got, right, all these assets that can offset their bills, and it makes sense to go file a lawsuit against you. That's just the nature of the way our medical and insurance system works, right? Do I have adequate replacement costs. If you're not keeping up, like, the cost to build your home is much higher now than it was before. Do I have adequate, so the same thing on my other assets there. Do I have like commercial insurance on those short-term rentals like in Asheville? Because they had second home insurance rather than commercial insurance, they were unable to hold on to that asset long enough for it to be put back in service because they didn't have a loss of service like coverage on there. Sitting down, having that conversation, having a team of strategists, like that is essential to building a wealth machine. It is not how to get rich. I have worked with a lot of people that have gotten rich and lost it in the 20 years that I've been in this industry. I've come in and watched people that are making $20K a month lose everything when the market turned. They lost the G-Wagon, they lost the corner office, they lost their wife. They were bar backing at the Green Iguana. This is true stories. I was 25 watching this, you know, and I have watched realtors that when I was also 25 crying because they can't take Sundays off because they're going to lose their business because their business is based on kissing the ass of their clients and being unreasonably responsive to them. So just, you know, we're thinking about those things. Cash machine, wealth machine. If you got questions on that, come check us out. Hang out with us for the Arkansas game October 11th. We're going to be doing the drawing October 8th, right? So if you haven't registered, please go register. Thank you for coming out. Take massive action. Big thank you to Pete. Love you being there. Right?
And thank all of you guys too. This is my first time talking in front of a group professionally. I usually would just do it one-on-one. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.